Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Keeping Technology Simple radio program. Jim Blue, your host, is a corporate executive who takes the mystery out of tech. And now, president of BlueTutor.com, Jim Blue.
And this is Jim Blue, the host of the Keeping Technology Simple radio program, where we talk about the relevant technology issues of the day and in plain English. Well, today we have with us Carl Bizzanti, CEO, I'm going to butcher your name, sorry, Bizzanti Technologies, who was a Microsoft Partner of the Year in 2012. His company is one of the premier IT consulting services for businesses ranging from home office and retail clients to multinational corporations throughout New York metropolitan area and numerous international locations as well. And today we're going to talk about Windows 8. Now, Carl and I were originally going to talk about this right around the time that the operating system was launched. Carl was at the launch here in the New York area, but, you know, we had some very difficult weather situations in the New York area with the hurricane and the snowstorm. Carl literally ended up underwater, and I'm glad he's able to join us today. Carl, welcome to the show, finally.
Jim, thank you for having me.
Well, it's great. And I guess the first question, and I get this from a lot of my listeners, you know, what are the differences between Windows 7 and 8? Windows is a very, very popular operating system. It had been out there on a while, and I know there's some pretty radical changes with the introduction of Windows 8. And maybe, you know, it's a bit of an advantage for us to be talking a little later than we originally scheduled, because I'm sure you've learned a lot from it, and a lot of people have heard a lot of different things. But explain to our listeners what the differences are.
You know, Jim, the number one item is, for the first time in the history of computing, the fingerprints on your screen will actually do something. So the fact that Windows 8 is really designed to change your use of computers and make it personal, where you can now use your hands to do a lot of the computing functions that you required a keyboard or a mouse to do before, is really, you know, the game changer. If you looked back to the advent of the mouse, I mean, the mouse changed the way we looked at computers in the 50s and the 70s, and now that you've got the ability, like on your phone, I mean, almost every one of these listeners that's got some sort of a smartphone is used to using their fingers or the screen to do something. The fact that that's built into Windows 8 and the applications are designed that way, from Office 2013 that we all know and love to the host operating system is awesome.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because, you know, the popularity of tablets to a large extent is based on the fact that you can just, you know, touch an app, you know, and now what Microsoft has done is it's taken it to the desktop.
Yep. The desktop, the server, Xbox, your phone are literally all the same platform now. So the application you would design for one can essentially run on all three. And that's really like one of the huge compelling advantages. With Windows 8, I think what we're going to see is the fact that marketplace is so large, the number of developers who are stepping in to design apps to run on the platform are, you know, lining up. And I think the app marketplace is just going to be filled. I mean, I think it'll be filled. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, I think it's going to be filled with whatever you could think of. You know, I remember some of the first couple applications I got on my phone, like Monopoly and Risk and chess and some of the things I used to do when I was a kid. You know, I've got 2 kids now. The fact that you can get a business application that shows you where your key customers are when you're out in the field and still allow the computer to be fun. I mean, like Solitaire, when it came out so many years ago, I mean, the computers were fun. I mean, you didn't even have a chance to do stuff like that. The fact that you can carry that with you now, actually make money off of your computer and still have fun and add entertainment, you know, it's kind of a game changer. I mean, I think it improves everybody's quality of life.
Now, there are two basic versions of Windows 8. Because of the fact that, from everything that I've read and everything that I've seen, Microsoft has taken a giant leap and developed the 8 operating system for both PCs and for the tablet market as well. But there are two versions of it. Talk a little bit about that and who should be using which.
The two versions I think you're focusing on are RT and the full release product.
Yes.
RT stands for restricted. The full release product comes out in a basic and a pro. The pro version allowing you to join a domain or connect to multiple computers at the same time. The basic version being like the home operating system that students would buy for school. The RT version is really kind of the Apple Galaxy and Slate and all these other competing tablet killer. The RT basically it's a full computer. It runs full Windows 8, Office 2013, so all of the Word, Excel, PowerPoint type items that you would expect to be sitting on a machine. But what you don't have on that is the ability to install an application without getting it through the marketplace. So if you look at one of the reasons why people have liked some of the other tablet options, they're so stable. One of the reasons why they're so stable is that you can only get the applications for it through the marketplace. And that means they're tested, they know they run on that, they're designed specifically for that form factor, so that the device stays really stable and fast. What RT, or the restricted version, was trying to do was to protect users from trying to install a full desktop application on a low-powered, tablet device or Surface or something like that.
Now, if I'm a home user and I have one, computer that's running Windows on it, which version as a home user should I be getting?
Probably basic.
The basic
would be the consumer version. Like my parents, I'm getting them computers for the holidays.
What a nice
We're getting
guy.
them HP Envies. They're SSD drives. They're light. They're fast. Touch screen. My parents are getting on their age, so they want a nice, crisp, display to look at. And I know my mom's always trying to reach over and grab the mouse. So now when they start to, have these fun discussions that I grew up with, they can now just reach and start touching the screen for the other input, so to speak.
So what you're basically going to do is get them the basic model where they have the ability, if I understand correctly, to not only touch a screen, but they can also use the mouse if they want to as well. It's a choice.
That's
is
exactly
that correct?
Yep.
Right.
They're not going to be part of a corporate network ever. I mean, they're retired, so they don't need the main join and Windows to go type features that you would get in a enterprise company or in a business. I mean, that business could be a business of 2 or 5. One of those other features that's awesome about Windows 8 on the commercial side is with Windows 8 on the Pro versions up, you can take a USB stick, 32 gigs or higher, plug it into your computer, search for Ready to Go, and convert your computer into a USB stick. So let's say I was flying to Florida to visit my parents for the holidays. We're in the holiday time frame. I could plug in my USB stick in their computer and run my machine as if I was sitting in my office.
So really, what you're saying is that USB stick not only has data on it, which everyone's used to, but it sounds to me as if you have programs on there as well.
The whole operating system and every application I've installed, all of it.
Well, that's pretty important because we are living in a mobile world, and it's becoming much more mobile. So what you're really telling our audience is that, you can put not only the data on there, as I said before, but you can have Windows on there. You can have Word on there, Excel, whatever it happens to be.
Full Office suite. Yep.
Right. Carl, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what you'd recommend that people have Windows 7 and they have fairly, current machines, and how important it is for them to really look at this upgrade. So stick with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Sure.
Have you recently left corporate life either by choice or the result of downsizing? If you have decided to start your own business, the chances are that you've already spoken with an attorney, an accountant, and probably have a plan in place to finance your new venture. However, have you given any thought to a technology plan? Do you need a new computer? What other equipment do you need? As an entrepreneur, you no longer can call a support desk when something goes wrong. My name is Jim Blue, and I make technology understandable. My phone number is 917-921-4518.
And we're back, and today's guest is Carl Mazzanti, who is a Microsoft Partner of the Year and was very much involved with the launch of Windows 8. And before the break, we were talking about, some of the major changes that have taken place. Carl, you've got a lot of corporate clients. I know that, and they're pretty big. They range in all sorts of sizes. If they're running Windows 7 or the Enterprise or whatever it happens to be, are you recommending to them that they should be upgrading to Windows 8? Are you telling them to wait? What's your advice to people that have fairly recent Windows 7 machines and are pretty happy with them?
So Windows 8's host kernel is 60% of the size of Windows 7. That reduction, or the culling of fat, so to speak, in the operating system is how they're getting it to work on an Xbox, on a Windows 8 phone, on a tablet, and down to your, like a traditional type computer. The fact that the OS is so small. So essentially, anything that you purchase with Windows 7 is going to run Windows 8. For those companies that already have Windows 7 machine, the desires to go to Windows 8 are going to be based on, security, ease of management. So if you're a corporate office and you're taking a support call, like someone forgot their password and you're walking them through it, there's now picture-based passwords on it that people will remember the picture and their child and what they did on the picture as one sign-in option. Another one is if they go to type in their password and maybe they're not used to typing because they took 2 weeks off for the honeymoon, they can click on something and see what they've actually typed out to make sure it's right before they click enter or enter the password. So any device purchased Windows 7 will run Windows 8. The Windows 8 machines you're going to buy because there's features inside of it that you want that will solve business problems today. The one recommendation I've been making to people who buy Windows 8 machines is to look at adding like a touch monitor. So if you're going to keep your existing Windows 7 computer and you're going to upgrade the local machine to Windows 8, I'd highly recommend spending $100 or a couple $100 to get a touch-enabled screen. Because
now, what if I have a laptop that's running Windows 7 and I want to upgrade this to Windows 8? And I understand you can, upgrade for as little as $39.99, depending on what version you want. Will you be able to install that and to be able to use the existing monitor that's on the laptop?
Absolutely. So you can use it. The corners then become your friend. In each of the corners of Windows 8, each of the corners of your screen, that's where you get to your start menu. That's where you get to the charms that come out on the right-hand side. When you're on the start screen, anywhere on the start screen, if you start typing what you're interested in, the entire start screen is a search box. So when you start to type, it's going to help you find it. So that machine that you have absolutely will run Windows 8. It's probably one of the most exciting items is that you can take some of that older hardware and breathe some life into it, and it'll actually run faster than it did, when you bought it with Windows 7.
Now, if I have a Windows 7 computer, okay, and it's relatively new, and I don't want to go out and buy a new one, What should our listeners do prior to doing an absolute upgrade? They've got a lot of data in there as well. I know in many instances people have been reminded to make sure they back up their data, et cetera. But let's say I have a laptop. It's running Windows 7. I don't want to go out and buy a new machine, and I want to be able to upgrade for this, $39.99 or whatever price happens to be. What steps should I take to make sure that none of my data gets lost? Number one, and the second part of it, which I think you've already answered, is that any of the existing programs that are on 7 really don't have to be updated, or there may be some third-party apps that won't run there. So what should people do if they want to do a simple upgrade?
Jim, so the first thing is I'd always say find a professional. That professional might be your brother, your cousin, or someone who knows a little bit about computers, or a firm like my own. Finding a professional and have something to figure out your unique situation is always a great idea. Whether it's just to bounce an idea off of them or to have them double check. In the absence of that, there are a number of tools that you can run against the system that will tell you your application compatibility of the computer for Windows 8 apps. So if you have applications already installed and you want to put Windows 8 on top of it, it will tell you which applications are compatible and which ones are not. And I think you did a great thing by pointing out the fact that there are always third parties that don't move along. We will get a phone call from someone that is using an application designed 30 years ago that opens up in a green screen or some black command prompt, and they'll say it's critical to their lives and they need to use it. There are always improvements out there in the applications you use. Sometimes it's just a good time to take a look and see if that next version for a small amount of money might add some other enhancements that's worth, getting so you can move to Windows 8.
So the very first thing that people should do is, in the past, just back up everything in case something goes wrong. You don't want to lose your data.
I was saying that they look for a professional first because the professional is going to know how to do all of that stuff. Backing up your data is a great place to start. The second one is make sure the applications you need to run will actually run on the new operating system. Even just putting the disk inside of the CD-ROM drive, or if you get Windows 8 on a USB stick or an ISO file, you can mount or use any of those, and it'll run a app compatibility. But for sure you want to protect your data. For sure you want to know that your applications will continue to run and you'll be able to do the job that you want to do with your computer. And finding a professional should help, explain what you have that's new and help you go through that if you don't want to do it alone.
Well, in my private practice, most of my people, won't even do any type of upgrade unless they give me a call, and I've encouraged them to do that because, as you know, a lot of these notices are nonsense. And in something as critical as putting, upgrading to another operating system is something I never have encouraged people to try on their own, as tech savvy as they think they might be. And I'm sure you get calls all the time from your clients and are advising them to, this is a major upgrade. You don't have to spend a lot of money in getting a new machine, but let us at least walk you through what the process is. And, now the other thing is, we're talking about users that are home-based people with one machine. We're talking about corporations, et cetera. I read in the Wall Street Journal earlier today that there have been about 40 million licenses for the new operating system that have been purchased in the first month alone, which is not it's not a small number. So a lot of people are going ahead and doing this. Are you at this stage of the game going out to your corporate people and saying, they've got to do this? Can they wait? Is there anything that would really change their mind in terms of doing this based on what you've seen with the release out there now for a month?
I think the drive, any new computer sold coming from Umasanti is shipping out with Windows 8. We have not shipped any Windows 7 machines since launch date, and that's for 400 or so active customers. So anything that's new is shipping out with Windows 8 and really should. For For some customers, we've converted 100% of their businesses to Windows 8. So those customers were rapid deployment customers where we had access to Windows 8 6 or 8 months beforehand, and that includes my office. 100% of my office converted to Windows 8. One guy actually yelled stood up in our office and said, "I'm never going back." And
yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I love it. This has been great, Carl, and we're going to take another short break. When we come back, I want to talk about what this means to the mobile warrior, because
sure.
You've got a tablet out there. I know that there's something called a Surface that people keep asking me about, and we're going to deal with that. But as I said, we're going to take another short break, and we'll be back in a moment.
You got it.
Are you confused by all the new gadgets that appear to be coming out almost on a daily basis? Is the new iPad for you? Should you be buying a PC or a Mac? My name is Jim Blue, and I make technology understandable. My phone number is 917-921-4518. And
we're back again, and today's guest is Carl Mazzanti, who is a Microsoft Partner of the Year in 2012. We're going to talk now about the mobile world. I mean, everything that I've read seems to indicate that within the next 2 years, more people will be accessing the web from a mobile device than through a desktop computer. So Microsoft has really entered the fray now. So talk to our listeners about Surface and what that means and what the real differences are between that and some of the Apple products.
So, short story with Surface was that Microsoft has always made the software to enable something to take place and has relied on hardware manufacturers to come up with innovative designs. And where one of their friendly competitors has owned the software development to the production of the device, they've been able to evolve that device maybe a little bit faster. So what Microsoft said was that they wanted to put some pressure on the general community and come out with a product that they built and would house all their software, and they would own the design from start to finish. That device is really targeted towards, getting the rest of the Microsoft ecosystem focused on innovation. And I think that's actually what's happening. So Microsoft released Surface. It's a small tablet. It runs RT. It will run the full version, if not already, very, very soon. So you can install applications and use it like a traditional Windows 8 desktop. But the RT versions that shipped on October 26th, those were focused on getting people who wanted a inexpensive price point in the $400 range to $600 range. If you bought the cover that had a keyboard built into it, it's great for traveling on an airplane. So you want to just type up, you've got some quick thoughts. It's great for the ability that you can watch a movie off of it or stream something to it. It's only a couple pounds, so it's super light, has a very long battery life, and is massively stable. So there are some real some real reasons to go get those devices, and I've already seen a bunch of school districts totally standardize the school's curriculum off of using Surface units. So if
somebody were to come to me, Carl, and say, okay, the Surface is out now, why would I get a Surface as opposed to an iPad? Is this really from a business standpoint or a home user?
Sure.
I mean, that's a question I've already gotten. Microsoft
Sure.
is now in the fray, et cetera. What about the iPad? I mean, what should I be looking at?
Jim, you're talking to me on the phone. You're probably looking at a piece of paper and maybe doing something else at the same time. An iPad can only do one thing at a time, and that's it.
That's correct.
The Windows devices, you can do multiple. You could be checking your email, syncing up your Facebook friend contacts, writing a message, all at the same time. So you can run multiple applications on a Microsoft Windows 8 device, whether it's RT for Surface or the full-fledged product. And you cannot do that on an iPad. So
now the other question that I keep, I'm sorry, go ahead. The other thing I was going to mention is that, Apple has hundreds of thousands of apps, and my understanding from what I also read today was that Microsoft has been increasing the number of apps and has made a substantial leap even within the last couple of weeks of what they're offering. Are they going to be in a position where, or the question really should be, how long is it going to take for them to be able to really get these apps up and running?
So Microsoft, for its general ecosystem, has been running boot camps now for 9 months to train people on how to design apps for the touch interface. The fact that, you said there's 40 million units sold in the first 30 days.
Licenses, yep. You
add that to the fact that every server, every Xbox, every phone will run the same level of operating system. So when you design once, the number of devices out there is just so large that if you were a developer, you go to the biggest marketplace. That's where you develop for first, because you want to put it in front of as many eyes as you can, and hopefully they buy. So the app marketplace for Microsoft is going to expand, and I think if you looked at Apple stock and the fact that it has dropped so much in the last 15 or 30 days, it's not just consumers voting. That's the world telling you that they know there's options out there, and those options are eating away at their prominence.
Well, this has been great. Unfortunately, we're going to be running out of time in a couple of minutes, and you and I could probably talk about this all day long. I think the important thing to keep in mind, and when I give you a couple of minutes to give your contact information out there for people that need to, get an expert in there to help them, is that number one, you don't have to run out and buy a Windows 8 machine. You can do an upgrade. It's important that if you're going to do that, number one, you back up your computer and really call someone that knows what they're doing to help you with an upgrade. And if you are going to buy a new Windows computer, a new Microsoft computer, it should be Windows 8, and you're going to end up loving it. There might be a learning curve involved, but it's really the way to go. We've got a couple of minutes left, Carl. I'd like you to give our audience the contact information. I'm sure a lot of people would like to get a hold of you.
So, Carl at emazzanti.net. So that's EMAZZANTI.net. So that's CARL at EMAZZANTI.net. My phone number is 201-360-4400, and I'm extension 4410. I make myself available to anyone who's listening to help out any way we can, and most certainly our organization is filled with a bench of engineers ready to spring into action to help people out in need.
And the other thing is they can go to your website and also your LinkedIn page. Carl's got a rather extensive background in the IT area. He services a lot of companies, and, I got a hold of him as soon as this came out because I needed to learn a lot. And even though I consider myself somewhat, from a tech standpoint, knowledgeable, there's an awful lot that any of us can learn, and Carl's the way to go. Carl, thanks again for being a guest. Perhaps we'll catch up with each other again with another update, but this has been very, very helpful, and I'm sure our listeners gained a lot of information by just listening to you.
Thank you, Jim, for the opportunity.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
Good
Bye.
talking with you.
Definitely.
This is Jim Blue, and you've been listening to the Keeping Technology Simple radio program. To reach me after the show, you can call me at 917-921-4518 or email me at jblue@bluetutor.com. And don't forget to visit my website at www.bluetutor.com, where you can access my blogs and a number of special offers. And remember, when it comes to technology, there is nothing to fear, as FDR said, but fear itself. We take the fear out of technology.
And I'm just trying